Good morning. My name's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about what Colleen and I have learned about heaven and hell. How we learn this is what we call doing a study. We use a bunch of recorders. You can buy them in Best Buy. Spread the recorders around the house, get them up height, and ask questions. Pause so they have a chance to answer. Ask more questions. Just keep it going. We don't hear anything in real time. We take the recorders back to our homes, we listen to them. Colleen and I exchange notes, double check our work, make sure we actually did hear it, because these voices are so quiet that we're capturing. Excuse me. We spent a year in Forgedale, just learning how to do this. The next year we spent at a house called Hilbert. Again, it's an empty house. The owner flipped us a key. It was great. We went once a week. And we started, at Hilbert, we started to learn. We started to understand more of the structure of the afterlife, what was going on around us as living people in a stranger's home. And we started asking about heaven and hell. Let's work on heaven first. At one point in Hilbert, I asked the empty house that's full of invisible people, is this house considered heaven? And a guy replies, it better not be heaven. There is a little humor in the afterlife. I suggest another time we stopped. Is heaven just being with your family? A person replies, we don't know. I found that one curious. Another question we asked at one point, I'm saying this provocatively. I don't think heaven is a place. Two men reply. The first one says, heaven is not a place. But a second guy kind of wavers and says, uncommon of a place. I did a study in my house once. I didn't do studies there often. It's on Main Street in Valley, Pennsylvania. Very noisy, day and night, it's noisy. But I did occasionally, and one time I did ask, have you met God? I'm asking that to an empty house. A man replies, there is no heaven. And in this house, a few years back, I touched on the subject one more time. I asked, is there no such place as heaven? And a person responds, no heaven. That's what I know. You do with that information what you want. Now let's talk about hell. To get into this subject, let me explain how we dove into it. Our father died in 2013. And we were well into doing studies by then. So we tracked his movements in the afterlife. It was an easy subject for us because of course we knew him. We knew everybody around him. He's with his family. That's where we all are. We're always with our family. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I've got a whole bunch of family people like right here, right around me. But when you first die, one of the important things that we all have to do is redos. And that's their word for it, not mine. we do our redos. They won't explain to Colleen and I exactly what a redo is. But the name says it all. We all have to redo what we did wrong. And there is a form of hell in the afterlife. Their common term for it in the afterlife is behind the walls. So Colleen and I, as we tracked their father through the afterlife, yes, he did his redos. Traveled all around the world. He was in the Navy. Traveled all around the world doing his redos, and eventually wound up behind the walls. We're going to touch on that subject. Going back to Hilbert, I asked that house, or I told that house, again, being provocative, my theory on hell is people who are alone. A man responds, it's a fact. Here in this house, I asked, what happens if you don't do your redos in the afterlife? A man very specifically said, you will go to hell. Again, I asked here, is behind the walls like hell? A person responds, yes, it is. Colleen asked in her house some time ago, my dad's alone in the afterlife. Is that considered hell? And a man responds, we consider hell like that. Very curiously, Colleen asked again in her home, so hell is a place you're alone? A woman responds, it is. And a man standing next to her, because he was captured on the same recorder, a man standing next to that woman, only there's a loophole. What we discovered about that loophole is that your family members in the afterlife, the whole group, can get together and spring you out of hell, out from behind the walls. I don't know if they petitioned the big guy. I don't know exactly how they did it. But they sprung our father out of hell after he spent about 5 years. 5 years in our time. Time appears to move much, much slower in the afterlife. So those 5 years could have felt like 20 to him, perhaps. And the reason I say that about time in the afterlife, Colleen and I now, we don't do strange houses. We just work in our own homes, because really the only people we want to speak with in the afterlife is our group members, our great-great-grandfathers, our great-grandmothers, our aunts, uncles, people who have passed, who are close to us. And often we know them personally. We'll do a study for between 3 and 5 minutes. That's it. We generally ask 5 questions, pre-written, very organized. We often repeat the question because that draws better answers almost every time. And while this is all going on, in 3 to 5 minutes, they're throwing a party. My grandfather, who runs these things in the afterlife, he gets out food, he puts out drink, they talk about the food, they talk about drinks, passing the bottle, here, try this food, try that, in 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't sound feasible for us humans. It's not. It's not feasible for us humans to throw a party in 3 to 5 minutes, but the afterlife is a different place. Thanks for watching. I need you to subscribe, my friends. I need help. I'm an old guy. Come on. I'm working the old guy card. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.